Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Glyn. We are in the Cameo Club live-ish with Questionable. Please welcome my guest, Spain's best export stand-up comedian, Ignacio Lopez! Ready? Hola.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Oh, I've lost me now already.
Shemai.
Shemai, yeah, Shemai. Ignacio, just to put this in context now, I said a stand-up comedian, a successful stand-up comedian, a busy stand-up comedian. Recently we're headlining in Jongleurs here in Cardiff and all that.
That's right, yeah. Success is measured, I think, in being busy in something you enjoy. So yeah, I'm pretty successful for myself.
Cool.
Right now.
There we are. Well, now then, straight away, I hear your accent, yeah? No, and I've seen your name, you're Spanish, yeah? Half Spanish, half Welsh, that's correct, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But you're based here in Wales, yeah?
In South Wales, yeah, which is where my mother's from. So I know the area quite well. I've been back and forth ever since I was 5 years old. Some pretty depressing summer holidays back in Wales, so it's been pretty good, you know?
But this weather is beautiful.
Yeah, it'd be great, yeah, reverse it and yeah, fine.
Fine. So where in Spain are you from?
Mallorca, so yeah. I'm also familiar with British people from that aspect as well, you know, it's a lot of Brits like to go to Mallorca and terrorize the locals. So.
That's right, yes. We like to drink, don't we?
Yeah, it's an understatement, Dan. That's you like to. Yeah, I'm surprised there's a coastline in Mallorca left actually, because you like to drink a lot. Yeah.
How did you start in stand-up comedy? Because I know you studied over here, didn't you?
Yeah, I came over. I did film and video production, so it doesn't sound immediately like you would connect with stand-up comedy. But I wanted to be a filmmaker. When I was younger, before that, I wanted to be an actor. I enjoyed writing, and I didn't know that all of these things connected really well. I was a musician for a long time as well, like jack of all trades, and it all seemed to funnel into stand-up comedy. So
how did you get your first gig?
I was performing music after a monthly comedy night that ran in Swansea, and I basically was sick of seeing a lot of terrible comedians, and I said, look, any chance that I could go up and maybe do some comedy one night, and the promoter said no, not happening. No. I said okay. So I was going on at the end playing, strumming out Wonderwall to drunk people who had seen bad comedy or whatever. It was a lot of good comedy as well, but I was just thinking I could do that. I could give it a try. I've got some funny stuff written, and I eventually convinced him because about 50 of my friends rocked up one night wanting to pay to get in, but only if I was doing comedy. So he said, yeah, Ignacio's doing comedy tonight. So I had a sort of 5-minute warning before I went on stage saying, oh, your friends are here, you've got to do jokes tonight. So that's sort of how it came about.
It's interesting because I've seen you do comedy songs within your sets, yeah? I've never seen you do just normal straight singing. I can't quite imagine it. Do you take it really seriously as well?
Yeah, it's really depressing songs only. Actually, it's the complete opposite of my stand-up, I think. So yeah, it's fun.
Have you got a job in Mallorca? Who are you in Mallorca?
Well, back in Mallorca, I'm Wales's best export. I put on a Welsh accent and I do the stand-up over there as this. I was a barman in Mallorca when I was working over there because my father still lives in Mallorca. So when I go back, I might put in a couple of shifts collecting glasses and making cocktails for people. Because stand-up's not impressive in Spain. they don't care.
Is there a stand-up scene in Spain?
There is. It's a really good one. The same way that there's a Welsh language scene. It's the same kind of thing, It's very, but my humor doesn't work in Spanish because I've been raised on British comedy, so it doesn't work in Spanish.
Do they have Fawlty Towers over in?
They do. Well, the problem is when they took Fawlty Towers over to Spain, they dubbed it into Spanish, and all of the humor was deaf because instead of thinking Manuel couldn't understand because he didn't speak the language, as soon as they dubbed it all into Spanish, they just thought he was deaf. So it was just. It became like instead of like a lost in translation kind of humor, it became a hate crime.
I've gigged enough with you now to see loads of people coming up to you and calling you Manuel, and not thinking that it's racist at all.
Yeah. It's not. I don't.
I would like up in the valleys, some girls coming up going, "Oh Manuel, you're gonna have it tonight."
Not only
don't say it to me.
Not only was a very accurate quote there, Dan. It was also a spot-on accent as well. So it was exactly how they sounded, just as deep as that too. I see. Yeah, they say that. It's not really a racist thing. It's a famous character from a show. It's just it's weird. It's like if there was a show in Spain with a Welsh character called Di, and you go over to Spain and people call you Dai, instead of Daniel or whatever your name is. The equivalent of that, really. So there's worse racist terms that can be said about Spanish people. So
you have actually slowly but surely got sucked into the Welsh language side of comedy.
Yeah.
We, for example, have done a couple of gigs, Welsh language gigs, but we got Ignacio because you got enough Cymraeg bits to sort of stop your house from being burnt down, haven't you?
Well, it was quite cynical. I just thought, I've got to get some of those sweet Welsh dollars that I've been promised, so I've got to give them a go. But no, it's because I did come over here and spend some time in school over here. Welsh was compulsory, so I was trying to pick it up as I was going along. But like pronunciations, I think is very difficult from the difference between Spanish to Welsh. So a lot of the humour comes from that, so I crack jokes about that on stage. And eventually I was building up so much material that I realised only Welsh people are going to get this. I should do more Welsh gigs, so it was working out all right.
You find yourself headlining in Jongleurs, yeah?
Yeah, it's a recent kind of, within the space of a year.
Yeah.
So I've been doing stand-up for 5 years, and it's gotten to the point this year where I'm headlining the clubs where starting out stand-up, I couldn't have pictured it really. I couldn't have imagined doing it because it's one a big club, big name and everything. Playing places like the Glee Club or kind of venues that these are really big, popular venues that if you're not a stand-up comedian, that's where you pay to go watch stand-up comedians, the big names. So headlining a place like Jongleurs is it's a bit surreal from watching the Jongleur shows on television and stuff and seeing that happen. It's quite exciting.
But how do you get that? Because there is a proper, you can't just sort of go up and do it. You have to do open spots. Describe an open spot for me.
An open spot's usually around about the age of 45, very bitter that they didn't make it 20 years ago.
Short perspective.
Usually an open spot is an opportunity for somebody to show if they're any good. So it's an unpaid position, usually either on a pro bill or you get an open mic night where it's all open spots. But an open spot is somebody going up, maybe doing 5-10 minutes, just to say that they're capable of delivering material to an audience without sweating, passing out, that kind of thing. And if you do well at one of those, then they put you on a better bill or, give you a longer spot on another bill. Eventually you work your way up to an opener or a paid middle spot. Opener is probably the toughest space on a bill because you're going up almost cold after the MC has introduced you. And then headliner is I don't call it headliner for Jongleurs, I call it closing, because as far as I'm concerned, headlining is if your name is used to sell a poster. So that's my kind of way of keeping myself humble, is saying I haven't the headliner yet because nobody's paid specifically to come watch me at Jongleurs.
But it's weird, there's all these rules as well, because as you pointed out, I'm 45-year-old sort of just
I wasn't talking about you specifically, Dan.
But it's interesting for me, what in this midlife crisis I'm having now again, watching, because back in the day, first of all, there was hardly any clubs here in Cardiff doing comedy, and also if you were on first, that meant you were rubbish. And if you're on second, and then it would sort of slowly but surely go better and better.
In music, it's completely different. It's like you build up to the better act, basically.
Yeah.
But in stand-up, usually the host and the headline, the closer are getting paid a similar fee. Then you get the opener, and then the middle spot's the lowest one, or they might split it up with open micers. But the progression is there with a lot of change. Like Jongleurs might watch a video clip of you, so it's good to have a video clip, send it out. They watch it, they go, okay, you can do an open spot somewhere, do 10 minutes, and then maybe a 20-minute spot somewhere. Like I had to go up to London to do a couple of spots around the clubs there, which was an experience because I was used to cracking all these jokes about Wales, and then you go up to London, everyone's like, what the heck are you talking about? Why aren't you talking about the tube? That's what the
M25.
Oh, yeah, exactly, roads I wasn't even aware of. So it's it's quite interesting. And then they put you up. The good thing is Cardiff Jongleurs, they only have 2 acts and an MC. There's no middle. So you're doing 30 minutes at the beginning or the end, straightforward stand-up. So it's good fun.
Also, I was talking about the fact that there are lots of open spots and there are places where it's safe to fail, thankfully. It's like they're safe to fail. It's actually you're looked after. I've noticed that how you behave backstage is just as important as how you behave on stage.
Yeah, definitely.
That's changed a lot. I used to be just idiots everywhere and you just got on with it.
No, I think I think professionalism you can use in any industry. It pays
What's
to
that
be
professionalism.
Yeah. I spell out to yes, the close
What's that in Spanish?
Well, it's the same thing pretty much.
And in Welsh, professionalrwydd.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Well,
just as lazy as Spanish.
There's a lot of Welsh words that are the same as Spanish or close. Like taru is toro. Taru the bull. You got pascod, peso. It's very similar. Yeah.
My dad used to write letters to newspapers and sign them Mr. C.O. Jones, which spells cojones, which is...
Yeah, cool. It's what I've got and what you need to get.
Yeah. That's what I used to do it, yeah. Obviously then, just say now I wanted to become a stand-up comedian. Like,
You are a stand-up comedian then.
But say now, how do you start? You're talking about getting these open spots. Can you just turn up?
No, you have to contact usually the promoter. It's very frustrating for a promoter because I run gigs as well, and you're just inundated with people saying, hey, give me a gig, so it's difficult. It helps if you've done gigs locally in Cardiff or something for some of the promoters. If you can use people as a reference, it's good if you've had a good gig somewhere at an open mic night. You can ask, or maybe another act, look, would you mind being a reference for me for this gig? You look up, you email promoters, don't phone them ever. It's very annoying to be called up on a Sunday. Actually, somebody say, hey, can I come and do 10 minutes of stand-up for you?
Do they start doing jokes down the phone to you and stuff?
That's the worst thing, yeah. I don't want to hear your material unless it's on stage. Video clips are a must. I think definitely get a video clip.
You talk about video clip though, but by now, is it just filmed on the phone? Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's fine. A lot of mainly, phones are getting, as long as the sound is clear enough and you can see that you're physically performing and you haven't been green screened in, so you haven't just faked it. Oh, here's me playing live at the Apollo, and as long as there's not a fake laughter track in anything, like you can pick up, any promoter can kind of see that kind of thing.
Yeah, and just push them in like that.
Yeah.
Cool, as you talk, we're going to talk about promoting gigs now. We're going to take a break. You're going to stay there though?
Oh, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, cool, okay. Show appreciation, Ignacio Lopez. Back in a bit. Welcome back. We are still in the Cameo Club, behaving in a questionable manner with my guest, comedian Ignacio Lopez. Now, we were talking about the fact that obviously you tour around, you're doing stand-up. You have to do hundreds of gigs every year, don't you?
Yeah.
Because I know you laugh at me. I've probably done 300 in my life, and you do that in a week, didn't you?
Close enough, yeah, pretty much.
How do you find the travel? How does that do your head? Are you a good traveller?
I'm a pretty good traveller, yeah. I think I'm used to it from coming back and forth from Spain, catching flights and stuff all the time. I like international gigs, so I like going to places as far as possible. But it's a lot of it is just, people think stand-up's just, you go up on stage, you're there 20 minutes to an hour performing, and then you go home. But they miss out the 6 hours travel before and after a gig. So they think, it's an easy profession sometimes, and they don't take into account all of the hours of traveling and writing on the train, bus, whatever you're doing.
Because all the stand-ups I know, their weekend is Monday night.
Yeah.
So it'll just be, everybody else is like harumphing back in work, and they're just going on it.
That's when we break the cocaine out, man. That's what.
That was a joke.
It was a joke.
Was it?
I do have family in Colombia, but I'm not a cocaine user. No.
Okay, that's good. I don't think you need it, mate. Actually, the last thing you need is a line of cocaine. I've seen you on stage. Yeah. You also arrange gigs. You've got your own gig promoting company, Comedy Sheep.
Yep.
Yeah. First of all, do you want to give that a quick plug?
Yeah, can do. It runs in Cardiff on the last Thursday of every month in 4 bars above Dempsey's, which I believe is where you did your first ever stand-up gig 20 years ago.
That's
is
right,
that right?
Every time I'm in there, I bore everyone and tell them. And some of the same jokes as well.
Some of the same gags.
I always like going in there saying, hasn't changed a bit, and neither has this place. Just the same jokes over and over again.
We have usually big names trying out material there. So people I've met on the circuit all over the country, sometimes abroad, they might need to try out material. So I say, come down to Cardiff. It's a really kind of warm atmosphere, really cool crowd. And they try out new material for sometimes their Edinburgh shows or television stuff. And then a lot of open spots, also new material night for local comedians and people from further afield.
Because you will, I've noticed this, you will sort of give people a chance, bring them back, and if they're any good, I will see the same faces come back. But you're quite brutal, because sometimes someone will come in and we never see them again.
We kill them backstage, actually. One shot to the head, one to the stomach.
Did you die on stage? No, just backstage instead, yeah. Okay then, what's it? Arranging gigs, I know this, arranging gigs is hard work, yeah? And I don't enjoy doing it, but you seem to have worked it out and actually seem to enjoy it as well. What's the secret? What's the secret to sorting out a good gig?
Don't expect to make money. That's the, I make money from stand-up. Everything else, like the gigs I put on, are just for the circuit, really, just to kind of, either to develop material for myself or, fellow acts, and to see other acts that I might not get the opportunity to see, because like you said, our weekend is on a Monday. I don't get to go out and watch as much comedy unless I'm performing on a night. It's just good to see new acts coming in and doing stuff. But I think you just got to, there's a lot of rules, I think unwritten rules that should be written down somewhere. Things like how to lay a room out, you know. Sometimes I've rocked up to a gig to perform and it's been a pub where sort of the microphone's in the bathroom and you know, the audience is sort of tucked away in the car park, you know, not that extreme, but it seems that way. And there's so many simple rules, just things like the audience need to be able to see you. It helps if all the seats are facing you, the stage, you know. As long as they can hear you, that's pretty important as well. Saying actually, in the first time I closed Jongleurs, they had a problem with the electricity or with the lights that they'd installed, so I had to go out on stage in pitch black. The only light was on the audience, so I could see them, they couldn't see me. I was actually lighting myself with the torch from my phone while I was performing for 30 minutes.
Like this, really, actually, isn't it?
A bit like this, actually, yeah. So my arm was pretty tired, but there's a lot of rules, stuff like light the crowd, light the person on stage, make sure the audience can hear them, and point everybody in the right direction. So that's the main rules.
How about promoting it? Because a lot of people don't bother with posters anymore, they just do it all online.
I think posters are pretty important. I think professional posters are very important as well. I think if you scroll something on crayon, you know, and sort of sellotape it up behind the venue or on a bin, it's not going to do much good. But leaflets are pretty good as well, especially if you're flying for your own gig or your own show. I think you find it humbles you if you're putting on your own show at a festival like Edinburgh or Brighton something, and you're flying your own show, because you have to go out there and actually connect with the people that are potentially going to be your audience. You have to be nice and sort of, you know, polite to them and give them a flyer. And you get a lot of stick straight away. You know, people will just look at the flyer, look at your face, and just shake their head. Just drop the flyer like, I don't think so, man. You know, forget about it. As if you just handed them like a bill or something for walking or breathing. You know, it's pretty difficult.
That is tough. I can see that you work hard with your stand-up, and a lot of the time, you know, I'll phone you up, how did it go, went well. And other times, and these are the ones I like, when I died on my ass. And it's quite visceral, the language in stand-up, like, I smashed it. If somebody's done well, they talk about, they smashed it, I killed them. And if they've done badly, I died and all that. Well, let's talk quickly, get out of the way, your best gig so far, what's the one you've enjoyed the most?
I thought it's probably doing my solo show last year in Edinburgh. It was called Spain's Best Export, which is, you know, just me being humble about my stand-up and self. It was, you know, going up and sort of playing with the kind of stereotype about the Spanish sort of arrogance. So that, I think, performing my own show where people have paid specifically just to come and watch me for an hour and filling a room. It was actually it was over the month of August, and I was there performing on my birthday to a full crowd. That was the best birthday present, really, and they kind of enjoyed it. It was mainly Spanish people in the crowd who didn't know why they were laughing. They couldn't speak in English, but they were, you know, they were enjoying as well. So that was probably the number one on my list so far.
Lovely. Okay, so obviously the next question is, like, I want to know the ones, you know, where you've died or almost got beaten up, or, you know, like, you're obviously getting nervous, your mouth's getting all dry.
Yeah, it's getting flashbacks of the experiences.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Well, my show this year is called 9 Ig Fails, and it's all about my worst experiences with comedy and life. So there's a lot of stories in there about times where things could not have gone any worse. You know, there's times where I've died up on stage in front of the military, and that's a terrifying experience.
Because they've got guns.
Because they could kill me. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, they could kill me. Or there's times where I've gigged in Newport and people have gotten a bit stabby after the gig, like that type of thing. I did a gig in Swansea. Somebody mugged me on the way out of the venue. After I'd performed on stage, I got mugged on the way out of the venue. Like, this stuff happens. But then on stage, I've got stories where I might have said the wrong thing, not knowing. I've got a story in my stand-up where it's a true story that happened in the Glee Club in Cardiff. It was for a charity. It's in my show. I won't divulge too many of the details, but the charity was formed by a guy, and I didn't know this. He'd passed away. He'd been stabbed in Newport, and I cracked a joke about being stabbed in Newport in my set, not knowing how he'd obviously met his demise. And I dropped that joke, and the crowd just silent, and I didn't know what the heck was going on, so I'm just carrying on, and then somebody starts to heckle me at the back, and I don't know why. I've got it filmed, but it seems like all I'm saying after they start heckling me is just stab, 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 stab. I just could not be making the situation any worse, and watching it back is one of the most terrifying experiences in my life. It's like watching myself drown, you know, so it's quite impressive.
Because I've seen this now, a lot of people, they'll record themselves. What's the advantage of recording either the audio or the video? is just to listen back, get yourself sharper?
Yeah,
or
definitely. You notice words that you want to cut out or take out that don't need
like
to be
stab?
there. Like stabbed about 50 times on stage for a charity that's been formed by this guy. But this, I think that professionalism thing as well, it definitely carries into stand-up. Is what I call in comedy, a lot of comedy tourists, is people who like to think of themselves as stand-up or kind of give it a go. They might be funny off stage, or they go out and they think it's about them, and it's not. Your job is to make the audience laugh. It's a profession, it's an art form, but it's a form of entertainment as well. So your only remit, your only task is to go out there and make people laugh. If you can do that, like I think I do, by being honest and true to yourself and what you want to talk about, if you know the best way to deliver your material, and the only way you can find that out is by listening back to it over and over and over again and cutting out stuff and perfecting it, and you owe it to your audience that have paid money to come watch you do it.
You were talking about going to Edinburgh. You went last year. Was that the first time you've been up performing in Edinburgh?
No, it was the first time I did a solo show. I've been up before with a group of people. The Comedy Sheep came out of going up with a bunch of Welsh acts, and we put on a compilation of a lot of Welsh acts from Swansea, Cardiff and stuff. But last year was the first solo show. This year I'm previewing my new solo show around places as well, because I'm going back to Edinburgh and Brighton. So I'll be in Cardiff on May the 1st in Chapter Arts Centre as part of the Drones Comedy Club. I'll be previewing my new show there. I'll also be doing it for Cardiff Comedy Festival, which is in July too. So.
Brilliant. Okay then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, pob luck.
Gracias.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Ignacio Lopez! Diolch. Right, believe it or not, we will be back next week where I'll be being questionable once more. Thanks for watching. My name's Dan Glyn. Hwyl fawr nos da. Thank you.